Hello and welcome to Dungeon Master Talk, a podcast by Dungeon Masters for Dungeon Masters. I am Dungeon Master Shay, and with me, as always, is...
Dungeon Master Kyle. Welcome everyone to episode Quattro, not really, it's really like 20-something, but Quattro of Season 2. Second time I've welcomed you to episode Quattro. Today we have a fun one, and so I'm kind of jumping us into it. We will, of course, share our gratitudes throughout the episode because we just can't begin to say how grateful we are, but I do know that Shay and I are the masters of being sidetracked. And
I don't get sidetracked, I just
jump
swirl.
into this. Exactly. And now I'm curious if you saw a brown squirrel or a gray squirrel.
If I told you it was a brown squirrel with black stripes, would you believe me?
I would believe two.
It might have been a chipmunk. I don't know.
Striped squirrels always go in pairs.
It could have been a chipmunk too.
They're never singular.
Got that going for you.
You do have a pet squirrel dog.
I do, and that one looks like an inverted skunk more than an actual squirrel. But it is really funny because the squirrels get confused why she doesn't climb the trees.
Yeah, because they're like, look, one of us came out of that house.
Exactly.
See, this is what I'm talking about. And so, listeners, this is the episode that I think we have been the most excited to get to, but we had to lay some groundwork. Yep. We have that groundwork, but really doing any further groundwork without discussing this would probably be futile because we'd end up changing it anyway. So, Shay, today, let's talk story, let's talk conflict, let's figure out why now, why is this where our story begins, and with all that kind of build and bravado, I am going to turn it to you, sir. How do you want to kick this off?
All right, so, just as a small recap, we are putting ourselves in the setting of a post-apocalyptic campaign, either meteor or something, basically the world has gone kaput. And we've narrowed it down to elves, dwarves, and humans were the main species to have lived prior to the pandemic, prior to the apocalyptic event. But after that, all of your sub-breeds and maybe not sub-breeds, but like your half-orcs, your tieflings, your drows, all of those races came to be because of a mutation from the post-apocalyptic event. So we've got that. And then, as we discussed in the last episode, we nailed down the little town of Silverforge, which has a approximate population count of 769 people, and has its various
Best
shops.
Episode title ever.
Yes, absolutely. And it also has a little bit of a mine outside of town that the owners bring in workers to work that. So, with all of that being said, why now? What happens in the story that causes a big kerfuffle in town? What is it that gets everybody kind of riled up or in arms? We could probably say, big picture, this is probably going to be where your players are introduced. This is going to be where maybe you've had your people play or working in the mines up until this point. As part of their backstory. Maybe one of them was a blacksmith. Maybe one of them was a trader of goods, or they could have been a trader too.
You're a professional betrayer of human beings. You had friends. You just love to betray them in little ways. And so that's, whatever your background is, this is the natural kickoff point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have in this kind of world setting, we have a multitude of options of what could be our kickoff point, but I think the classic called to adventure, like, hey, jump into this wagon to kickstart your story, it's kind of been played out, I think. And also, I've always found that in those moments, being the role player, you're limited. Because you have this now requirement to have been called by this individual, so you have to build in a tie to this individual. Why were you hired, or why were you brought on board? You also aren't in a setting where your character is going to be just themselves. You're not in a setting where you're going to be in your natural environment. Your buddies aren't nearby. Whatever's in your backstory isn't in play here. You're not in control of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to shift us out of that into something a little bit different. Still not not cliche, because cliches are cliches sometimes for a
They're
reason.
Cleamies.
But what if it's...
Cleamies.
Sorry, what was that?
They are Cleamies.
Cleamies? I'm not getting this
Cliches,
reference.
Cleamy, you know.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a role. I'm broken now. Listeners, Shay just used his name.
I do that a lot, actually. I find it's actually really fun. I do it as much as I can, and it throws people off, and it's really fun.
Yeah, because your name, Shay, and the second part of cliche.
I had a thought, Kyle. What if your people are in town? Yeah, I mean, we can use the old cliche of you meet in a tavern. There's a drinking contest. Okay?
That's fun. But then what if one of the players wanted to
hold on. Okay, so that happens. They black out. They don't remember what happens the next day, but the town blames them for it.
Ooh, that could be fun. That could be fun. But then you have the challenge of filling in what did happen. It can't be so bad that they would have been arrested.
No. Well,
so you're boxed into what
happens.
that is. I feel like whatever you come up with is going to be anticlimactic. And it's even worse so if you never answer it.
Also true.
But we could put that onus on the DMs playing. No, that'd be terrible of us.
Well, like they could wake up, they come down to breakfast, and the bartender just kind of looks at them like, "Oh, you're awake."
I think that's a good idea. It's definitely not a bad idea by any means. My idea, and it's not better, it's same-efferent.
Same-efferent?
You know, it's differently the same.
That's canon.
There's no blackout part.
This word is now canon.
But it's...
Okay.
Same-efferent's now canon.
Yes. It is canon in DMT.
Love it. We're just adding to our lore constantly here with you and same-efferent. But my idea was, this town's just starting off. Maybe they're actually going to have like a day that they celebrate as we are now a town.
Okay.
And that's a big deal because there aren't towns.
Yeah.
And they're now declaring like, we've been here long enough, these buildings have been here long enough, we're getting a structure. Maybe it's the appointing night. It's a big, basically like giant oversized block party.
Okay.
But appointing night of we're naming a mayor.
Ooh.
Or ruler, whatever they want to call it. Mayor's the word I like to use for obvious reasons, if you know me well. If not, I don't know if I want to clear that to the infinite Cosmosphere.
I don't know where you pulled that one out of.
I'm not a mayor by profession, I'll put it that way. So it's this big to-do. Okay. And so the players are there as just participants in the celebration. Okay. Or maybe you're hired, there's a lot of jobs that need to be done for this. You could be a part of that if you want to be, or you can just be attending it. They have food, there's live music, so if somebody wants to be a bard, there's your natural inlet there for that role. The tavern is hopping big time. There's, of course, going to be some expectation of nefarious acts. So there would be people hired to be bouncers or just security in some way, shape, or form. So you're just standard fighter. You could have reason to be there if you don't want to just be in attendance. But then my thought is this night, the big celebration, big party, everyone's really happy, jolly. Then something happens that night that kickstarts the story. Maybe a raid, maybe a kidnapping, maybe significant damage to the town in some way, shape, or form that causes the rally point for the first quest, which is either to capture the bandits to restore faith in the ability to have an organized town, or it could be to maybe they kidnap this mayoral candidate, get that person back so that we can have said town.
Well, I was actually just thinking about that because I'm like, first of all, how was this person put into power? Were they voted in? Did they nominate themselves and everybody just kind of went along with it?
Well, if you wear the hat long enough, it's like one of those assumed rules. You just, you're like, this is good. And no, in serious though, I think in order for it to really work, they have to have a reason for it. Either they were like a descendant of a royal line that the city feels should be empowered. That could maybe lend towards them not being strictly good down the line because their path to power wasn't really exactly earned. It was more thrust upon them, or I guess handed to them free is more what I want to say, not thrust upon, because that sounds like what we're saying for heroes. This situation's thrust upon, you achieve greatness.
Right.
But it could be more that we could do it kind of two ways. This could be a benevolent, not really benevolent, not a deity, but a strict good character to have that original compass point to good. And I think that can be used well narratively if we want to have a tragedy that rallies the group together, or if we just want to have like a happy ending story point, having that natural good character at the helm of the city that our heroes, our players are trying to build up here. Well, yeah. I'm assuming heroes, but really with this dichotomy, you could be lawfully evil and you want this city to be established so that you have the ability to formate those laws to your benefit.
Yep.
And kind of be in a position of power at the end.
I do like the idea of maybe, like, for the first 3 levels, maybe, you could be on this manhunt for the mayor because they were pulled as a hostage for some reason. Maybe in a secret life, they were trying to get out of a evil group for whatever reason, and they were like, oh, no, you don't get out that easy. And so they bring him back. But that would say, hey, we need somebody to go get him back, and that would be kind of a call to arms. And then you could get your lawful people, or your lawful evil people could maybe try to wiggle their way into some coin for it, or the neutral people are like, I don't really care, but it's money, so I'll do it.
Yep. The other natural one, if it's not a mayoral candidate, it could be the Forge Master. So, like, without this person, the Forge is going to shut down.
Or it's the bartender. Because, God forbid, the bartender goes missing in a D&D campaign.
That's heresy. Because, like, where would you even start your investigation? Adventures start in the tavern, and if the tavern's closed...
Well, once all the alcohol is gone, they will launch a full-fledged investigation to go find the bartender.
So they're gonna for free partake because there's no bartender to stop them, and then you go save the bartender so there can be future alcohol, but now the bartender hates you and you're banned from the bar because you drink all this alcohol. So it's on to the next town where our adventure really begins. Silver Forge was a red herring all along. It's all a MacGuffin.
It was the bartender with the mug in the bar.
It was Colonel Mustard in the town 3 cities over with a candlestick. Austin. All along.
Yes.
This is why I have to think of many ideas, because 1 out of a million is good.
Yeah, I really need you to condense your OneNote for me there, Kyle. There's a lot. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I think that would be a fun, like, first level, because, like, usually, like, in a pre-gen, usually there's probably, like, 3 to 4 kind of random campaigns that you can do, or not campaigns, but, like, little quests to kind of help the newer players kind of get their levels up, get their XP up, so that way they can kind of be a little bit sturdier before, like, the story really kind of starts to get going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, the campaign that we're running now, right? So, technically... You started at level 1, but there's like there's this bear over here in the woods that is feral. Somebody needs to go take care of that. Or there's this lunatic out in the woods that thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. Go take care of him. There's a ambush waiting at this abandoned wagon. Like there's little things, and I think as a DM you can kind of have that liberal freedom to kind of throw some of that in there, especially with newer players. Because that will give them a chance to really get to know their character sheet. That'll get them to know their attack bonuses, their skill bonuses.
That's why at the beginning of it, like, not anymore because we've been playing for a couple of years now. But for the longest time, if you think back to how I'd run sessions, right off the bat, there'd be either a challenge or a battle almost instantly. So everybody would remember how to read their character sheets.
I do.
And then I would do story, battle again at the end, because there'd be inevitably something that they'd go, oh, I forgot I could X. And so then end it with a battle so they can remember that they could do that and do their fun, cool stuff again.
and then we'd wait a while and then we'd all forget and then we'd have to go do it all over again. But
Yeah, we played monthly and we would skip a month. So then I'd really have to remind all of you what your character sheets even were.
Wait, we have character sheets?
And my favorite one is we would end mid-dungeon. We'd come back and everybody's like, so we're full health now, right? And on my notes, I'm like, 2 of you were almost dead. Yeah, we're
okay,
full
yeah,
health.
sure.
Good try. But
and given that we don't have a cleric, nice try.
Yep, you guys got to try to find a place to sleep in this horrific dungeon I made for you. So I do think it's going to be important for us to still have stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if it is, rescue this person, if that wants to, that could almost be like a story arc. You go on this quest to find them. You're constantly chasing them along the way. You encounter other tribes, cross terrain. And by the time you return with this person, Silverforge could look different than it was left. It could be worse off. It could be better off. That's one way we could go with it.
I was actually kind of thinking like if we made like the capture be like their level 2-ish 3, that's where they get started on that. But like if you're starting at level 3, I'd say go ahead and start there because some campaigns would do that. But if you wanted to start at level 1, I would say let's find like a raid or something like that, or like an ambush to put in there. Maybe just outside of town, there's a abandoned cave with some gold in it.
What if...
Not the mine. Ooh, we need to come back to that.
Yeah, so, I don't know, like, I think it's important to have a grabbing hook, because the raiding group, if it was to be a kidnapping, they don't have to be overly powerful to achieve that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it could be the equivalent of 5-6 goblins that actually achieve that, and some battling that happens there. And if we want to, again, I don't want to force us to go down my pick, because I also think the idea of a funny hook in works well to like your group's now caught into building together, surviving together, because you got into a reverse mystery. You start off with, you guys did it, and now you're figuring out what was it, and was it that bad, and should we be right? Like, that can be a fun interaction. I think that honestly may work better if they know their characters a little bit, though.
Yeah.
I think starting a character off with like, hey, you just gave me all your backstory. By the way, you have amnesia for a night. You have to roleplay with these people. They're like, wait, my guy just got off of the super... he wasn't... Depending on their backstory, it might be like, hey, it doesn't fit that my character would have went on a binger like
Dude,
that.
I had this really bad dream and my head hurts.
Yeah.
What if we do this? We say, okay, like the week before the big party, like the big inauguration of this mayor election, right? That's when the story starts. That gives you kind of a runway for this guy says, hey, I need you to help me build this, and you get attacked while it happens. Or the bartender's like, hey, I have this like shipment of ale that needs to come to my bar, and maybe you get ambushed a couple times on the way through.
Yeah, like I need to hire you for protection effort. Something to get them to understand their character sheets a little bit, have opportunities to interact prior to...
Kind of bump that XP a little bit, just, before you actually get rolling.
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily out of level 1, although make it possible if they do each of the tasks they can.
Yeah, because like if you pick a bandit out of the book, I think they have an AC of 12 and like 22 hit points. It's not that much.
Right.
Especially you get somebody who's starting to roll crits. Whoo-wee, look out.
But conversely, level 1s are really low, and if you're the DM rolling heavy, it's easy to push. But I feel like it's not as easy to die at level 1 as it is to die at level 5.
That is kind of a hot take.
But my reason for that is level 5, you get cocky. That's when you start to feel like, I'm a beast. That's honestly when I've tended to die or come near death, because I'm like, I can take this. You know what? No, I don't have my shield in my hand. I want both my weapons out. Oh no, I needed that extra armor point.
Yeah, I could have used that. So for level, let's just do a level. Okay, level 1. So let's just say there is a cave that has been abandoned, but there's been some suspicious activity in and out of it at night. For our level 1s, we'll say, I like the goblin idea because that makes more sense. They're a little like an abomination, basically. Or at least I think the humans would probably look at it that way. High elves definitely would look at it that way.
Yeah. Dwarves are probably like, I don't know, we just want them out of there so we can look and see if there's goods in there. I know that your go-to for dwarves is always going to be angry, sleepy, from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But not every dwarf is one of the seven dwarfs, my friend. We don't appreciate having our characters lumped into just 7 archetypes. The playbook allows for more roleplay than that.
Challenge accepted. 9. Challenge accepted. I'm going to find a dopey dwarf. I'm going to find a sleepy dwarf. Oh, wait, that's pretty normal. I'm going to find a sneezy dwarf. Yeah.
An angry dwarf.
And a No. You see those all the time. Take away their alcohol and see what happens. Bashful dwarf. Now that is going to be interesting. Anyway.
That is a dwarf pre-beer.
Challenge accepted. That's my task in my campaign. I'm going to figure it out.
There you go. So what if it's more... So this event's coming up. I like the idea. We're 1 week.
1 week prior.
5 to 7 days.
Okay.
From the big to-do. The crowning. Crowning's not the right term because that's like you're putting a king. But the ceremony...
The inauguration, yeah.
There you go. That's the correct...
That's the word we're looking for.
Love that about you, Shay. You think of the words. That's what I appreciate about you. So, we have that coming up, and we are setting up.
Okay.
And during the setup, I like one of your ideas of, we have a shipment coming in, and maybe it's like take 2 of the shipment. Take 1.
Oh, wait, we're missing.
Ambushed. It got raided. Or yeah, it's gone. Something happened to it. It poofed. So for this one...
Bonus points if you can bring back some of the first shipment.
Yes. What I was thinking for it is we start off kind of lay out Silver Forge, have each player then talk about their arrival in.
Okay.
Because you're either a resident or you're not. You could be from the farm area outside of town. You could be a nomadic. You're just traveler by trade.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if that's what you do, you travel hunt. You could be, basically name it. But you're coming into town, and when you arrive, so either you're there and you know about it because you're resident, you live out in the farmlands, so you know about it because it's made the rounds because this is a big to-do. Like, if you're within a couple 100 miles and you've talked to another living being, Silver Forge is declaring itself a real town, and that's big news because... Since the fall, whatever we want to have the in-game characters refer to the apocalypse as, probably not the apocalypse, because so many syllables to say constantly throughout a campaign. So like the fall, or the event, or the end. Since then, anything that's tried to anytime anything tried to call itself a town, it died.
Okay.
It was destroyed, it was abandoned, it never lasted. So Silver Forge has been around for a while, and they're going to formalize it as a town. Big hoopla. You're coming in, and basically anyone and everyone that they see that's like you look like you are even semi-competent in a scuffle, they're going to be asking you to either go help protect this shipment coming in / find the first one. And then here's when we come up with the additional jobs that they can do.
Yep.
So, say that there's 3 choices. You can either sign up to, we want to protect the shipment coming in.
Okay.
Or maybe we need to get lumber for the stage. It's on but the force has been just having a high amount of strange creatures of late. And that could be your opportunity to have it be like a bear, wolf pack, something like that.
Ooh,
that's not your typical...
Like they're raiding a mill, like a sawmill.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what the third... I'm blanking on ideas for a third one right now.
We'd thrown out the cave one, so we could have that as a backup. Like Goblin Cave. Maybe,
yeah, it's too close to town, and the worry is that it's going to... prevent it's gonna cause a problem for shipment lanes, or it's gonna cause problems for travelers coming in, because nobody's being shy about this to do. It's meant to be a giant celebration, and to those kind of taking power in the town, it's twofold. You're wanting to announce to the world that you're a town because that puts you in power, but then also you're hoping to kind of sell the town now because you're wanting, if those that travel around the area, they're going to be searching for trade, if they know it's a town that you want to be in their good favor, you want them to love it because then they won't raid it, and then they'll keep trading here. And also you want some people to fall in love with it so that they come live there. Because the more people that live there, the bigger you become, the more powerful you are.
Right. And maybe like you can start building a keep, build a military or a militia at some point.
Yep.
Do we have a constable?
Ooh.
Or is it Wild West?
I think we need it to have, like, there is some form of law here. Like, to the degree that it's fleshed out, I think is what we need to kind of debate on, because maybe it's more in the form of like almost like a neighborhood watch, but because I mean we're 769 people that we say actually occupy Silver Forge itself, Silver Forge proper. So if 70 people were in the law enforcement, that's 10%. So that's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not
so
well, and I think about like some of the small towns that I kind of grew up in. Usually like that would be kind of sheriff's territory.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'd have like a deputy, maybe two, per little town village.
Ooh, triplets.
Triplets?
Yeah. What if what if it's a set of triplets, 3 brothers, like, or maybe it's 2 brothers and a sister.
Please tell me they're named Larry, Curly, and Moe.
Oh, if it wasn't for the trademarks.
Listen up, you knuckleheads.
Oh, if we could get away. We could get away with it.
Oh, ain't that the truth.
The fun we could have. Think of the sound effects. But what if it is like, this is the Law Brothers or the trio? Like I said, like it doesn't have to be 3 men.
Ooh,
I think
or what if we did something similar to True Bloods with Tom Selleck? Like how it's like a family of judge, police chief, police. Like there's just this family that they've just, for whatever reason, they've always been a very upright, integral family, and they've just kind of acted as kind of like the enforcer, if you want to call it that. Like they're not evil by any stretch of the word, but they're very fair. They're a very fair family, but they try to kind of keep the order of the town in a sense. So like the patriarch of this family could be kind of like your sheriff, if you will, for lack of a better word, and then you got like the kids kind of deputies. One of them, like an uncle, could be like a judge or whatever.
I'm loving this. What if, so again, small town, so there can be some dual roles. So what if it's like grandma is who's gonna be mayor because she's like the matriarch of the area. Everyone looks up to that. She's like everyone's grandma, but she's actually the grandma to this family.
But that makes sense,
right? And that's what. And she's this awesome person. She takes no bull.
No,
whatsoever.
0.
But if you're on her good side, life is great. But boy, her death glare literally is a death glare.
And to be fair, if you're not on her good side, you're not in trouble necessarily, but she's a little less lenient. Like
she's probably strict because like this is a tough nut lifestyle.
I wasn't born yesterday, Sonny.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. the ability to roleplay this type of person, it's just like I want it.
You know, there's 2 women that I just pictured in this role. Okay, Ma from Golden Girls,
yes,
or the grandma from Beverly Hillbillies,
yes.
Those are the 2 women that just popped into my head, like that could like fill that role.
Oh, perfectly.
She's all of 4.5 tall, but like picture it, Brooklyn, 1949. Like she'd give it to you straight and takes no crap.
Yep. Well, she's like 4'10" on her tiptoes, but somehow can stand over you when she's mad. Like, you're 6'10" fighter, you're gonna feel short next to her if you're in her wrath.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you do not mess with Ma.
Exactly.
You do not mess with Ma.
And she's definitely someone that has a title that everybody calls her, but that's like not her real name. And it can be like grandma or abuela, or it can be ma or it can be
it's got
ma'am, but like that's what she's called all the time. Like ma'am might work great for that type of character.
Mama.
Or mamma.
Mama.
Mama. I see. I can't get the draw.
Ma.
Mama.
Got get your southern there, boy. Get your mama.
Yeah, there you go. Mama would really work for this. And then what I'm thinking is her like.
Well, okay, yeah, because it's like shortened for Mayor Ma or Mayor Mom.
Yeah, I do like it. We'll come back on it to make sure we're happy with it. So then she's gonna be mayor, and she's kind of already been in charge.
Yes.
And now it's just gonna be formalized. And her firstborn is the lawman.
Okay.
And he, as a child, was the last person.
This is turning into Sons of Katie Elder. I love it.
A little bit. But I'm thinking like as a kid, if you would have known him as a kid, even to his teens, this is the last person you'd expect to take up the law because he rebelled against her in every way imaginable.
Okay, you're talking too fast. I can't type.
Oh, that's because I'm feeling it. I'm excited.
Okay, so oldest ends up being... Well, actually, you know what? You expect the oldest to be the lawmaster because usually the oldest is the most law-abiding.
Well, that's why I like this idea, so I need to pitch it because it's killing me.
Okay, go.
So he's the sheriff, and it seems all to fit because, like you said, that's what you'd expect. But that's where diving into his backstory, if you get to, would be amazing because you find out he was rebellious. He even maybe fled at one point in time, but he got his little brother killed.
Ooh.
And so now it's just him. His only other sibling is gone now, and he's gone the path of the straight and narrow, and he's way more strict.
Ooh.
When it's just him, even to the point of like ruthless enforcement at times because of what he went through. So you do not want to be on like his bad side whatsoever. And then from there, we can get into the deputies, his two daughters, and they're the ones that I think like there we have a fun dynamic where one is like lawful good.
Good cop, bad cop.
Right. And she can't imagine ever disappointing grandma. And, like, she wants to follow in dad's footsteps as a law person. And then the other deputy is she's like lawful evil. She'll give the appearance to grandma that she's checking all the boxes. Maybe she's the better one. But in all actuality, the dealings are going under the table. She runs the nefarious acts of the town. And... like her dad's maybe like trying to stamp out this rough routing crowd that parties at the tavern, and he's tried to break it up at times, but they keep getting out, they keep getting away with stuff, they keep just getting away. And it could be because she's enabling and empowering him to, and because she's taking kickbacks. That's my idea. I got really excited to pitch it.
I like it.
I've said it out there, so even if we don't go with it, I'm happy. I got to voice it into the letter.
What about... So let's just run with this for a second. So let's just say this town is a little bit more of a matriarch system.
Mm-hmm.
What if the daughter of the mayor is the judge? Okay. So... Yep. And her sons are the jailers.
That'd work.
Okay.
That'd work really well.
She went to school. She's very... Or like she... Okay, I shouldn't say that because schools are kind of not there yet.
Right. Because remember, like, everybody came from, like, a tribe type thing at one point in time, but they could have really heavily emphasized knowledge. Like, knowledge is more important than, or wisdom is more important than combat necessarily. Like, we survive by our wits, not by our,
Maybe she's the one that wrote the first law book?
Yeah. Because this could be, like, I think we've already put, like, a time period on this. I think we said, like, 50 years or something like that. It wasn't very long on this town.
Yeah. I just thought about this too. Just because there was a calamity doesn't mean that all of the former law books or anything like that would have been vanished.
Right. A lot of them were lost or damaged.
You know, she's kind of started her own little library. It's not very big, but just enough to kind of reference.
She's studying life from before.
Yes.
Big time.
And trying
in every way, shape, or form she can.
Trying to bring that order back that they used to have, even though she was not around for when it happened.
Right, but legends have been passed on of the great cities of old, the great towns of old, And so, like, it's not that knowledge is 100% lost. It's like 90% lost.
Right.
There's knowledge of that, the knowledge that used to be there. And so she could be from travelers and stuff. That's what she was after, was any records you had from before. Books, tomes, scrolls, anything that survived.
Maybe she has a little bit of arcana to her?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think like that lead up night, and we're definitely going to have the main story part 2, but I love this.
Okay.
I want to have Grandma is going to be set as mayor. I'm calling her Grandma right now because we haven't Mayor Ma is going to be elected mayor.
Yep.
Her daughter is going to be judge, and maybe like that has already been set in stone, but now they're electing Mayor Ma officially. Maybe there was a opposing candidate, and we can branch that out more next time. But listeners, we are trying to be respectful of your time, and we've talked for a good amount of time here. So I think we're laying some good groundworks that we'll revisit next time and solidify and get into that core central conflict a little bit more before we get back into branching out to the rest of the world proper and setting up the rest of the quests to wrap up this story. Again, we're not going to be wrapping up in like a couple episodes. That's each going to take us a little bit. So that may sound like I'm saying we're getting there, but really,
we are laying another brick in the pavement of this story.
Yep.
Again, like Kyle said before, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. We truly appreciate you being with us each and every time we drop an episode. It does mean the world to us. Mm-hmm. If you do us a favor, when you get a chance, and hit the subscribe button on your favorite platform of choice and leave us a 5-star review on that said platform, we would just really appreciate that, guys. We love hearing from you. We do read all the comments. We read each and every piece of email that we get. And we just really appreciate that you take time out of your day, whether you're doing dishes, you're working, you're, driving in the car with your kids, doing really weird charades on the computer. I mean, whatever you're doing while you're listening to this podcast, we just super appreciate that. And also, if you want to hit us up on the social medias, we have our email at dungeonmastertalk@gmail.com. You can leave us a long form message there. We are on Facebook with the Dungeon Master Talk podcast page, or I think it's just Dungeon Master Talk page. And then you can also hit us up on Twitter at DMT the podcast, and you can also use the hashtag Dungeon Master Talk, and that will find us as well. Again, guys, we're just super appreciative. We will have game updates for you next time, because as of the recording of this episode, my group meets this coming weekend, and then I think Kyle's group meets after the next episode drops.
Yep.
So it'll be somewhere in there.
2 weeks from this recording session, which will be a couple episodes of recording in the future, ideally if we get back on schedule. So we will get those updates to you, I promise. But like Kyle said, we usually play about once a month for each of our groups. So that's why we're kind of few and far between. But we will get you updated on those. For all of us here at Dungeon Master Talk, I am Shay. And I'm Kyle.
And we'll see you next time on Dungeon Master Talk.
Bye, guys.